Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Jackson County Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, April 16th of 2024. And today, Don Schwenker, Ben Flagel, myself, Mike Steinis are your county supervisors. Lisa, our county auditor, is here. Bjorn with IT. Luann, our executive assistant, is in the background. And Mary is here with the media. And first on our agenda this morning is Jaden Seckel, our Jackson County Assistant Engineer. Good morning.
Good morning. First thing on the agenda is the Iowa DOT TSIP agreement, so it's been a long time coming, but if you remember the destination lights that we applied for, back in, when did I send this in? Last August. We finally got the funding agreement. They are funding out of the 11, we have 11 destination lights total. Out of the 11, they will fund 5 of them up to a total amount of $148,500. So say, for example, the 5 lights, those 5 lights come in at 100,000, they're only gonna fund the 100,000. And if on the flip side of that, if they were to cost more than the 148,500, they're only funding that maximum dollar amount. So
did they pick the 5 lights or?
yeah, so when we submitted all 11, we ranked them on priority, which a lot of it comes down to, there's a benefit cost ratio. And some of what plays into that is crash history and all that stuff. So we ranked them based on that. And they decided on 5 of them. And because if you recall too, City of Macocota also got TSIP funding, they have how many people have applied. So they, I feel fortunate that we're gonna get 5 of them funded. So, you want me to list off the intersections for you at all?
We have it in our email, but do you want it, Mary?
I can get it later if that works.
It's just there on the first page, 1C.
Okay, so the first one is Bernard Road, the intersection of Bernard Road with West Bellevue Cascade Road.
So that would be the intersection going toward North Carolina Cascade, and the other one has the destination lighting on it. The one going east has one, the one on the north side going toward Cascade does not.
Correct. Second is the intersection of 395th Avenue and 308th Street, north of Bellevue, just south of the golf course.
Which there was a fatality there last year.
Yeah, so I guess unfortunately made that rank very high. Third is the intersection of State Highway 62 and Rockdale Road.
On the east side, yes. It's dark.
63rd Street, yep. So the fourth one is the intersection of Highway 61 and 63rd Street, which turns into Rockdale Road. Right, yeah.
Yes.
And then fifth one is the Caves Road with 172nd Avenue.
72nd?
Yes, so that would be just west of this Highway 61 and 63rd Street
Yeah, so
intersection.
if you went straight across
Okay.
Rockdale. Nice, and again, I reiterate, we're fortunate to get half of the funding, if you will. It's been a project of ours to get the funding to do all destination lighting, so it's in them intersections, it's quite dark in a lot of them, and we discussed the intersection of 62 and Bellevue Cascade by the school there, which is also,
Mhm.
but that'll be our baby, I guess.
Yep, but at least we got 5 of them, which was more than probably we were originally anticipating. We were hoping obviously for a couple, but 5 is a plus.
So we apply year after year, or is this a one-time funding?
You can, so TSIP, there's various things you can apply for, so it's not just destination lights, obviously after this year, we'll have all of well, we have to, as part of this, I guess, it might not be this coming fiscal year, it could be the next, depending on if we have to bid it out and do all that process, but once this is said and done, we'll have all of our paved route intersections lit, but there's other things that you can include to apply for a TSIP, like I know Todd and I have talked about, seeing if Jones County would partner with like temporary traffic control stoplight. Like, so that way our guys, when they do patching, we can do longer stretches if you have the stoplights to stop traffic, cause right now we don't have that, so we're limited to how much of a work zone can be shut down. So with that, we can have more of a work zone and get more patching done, so.
Great idea. We don't have a guy on each end, right? Hold on, turn the flag.
No, and right now, like at nights, it's just these
Flashing?
alternate signs and
Yeah.
enough warning signs, so it's just, you're really limited as far as works on what you can get accomplished in a day.
Well,
There's
we,
stuff like that that we would apply for.
we expect you to keep the plan.
It's free money.
Job well done. Thanks for doing that.
But I guess so, we, as part of the funding agreement for this, we are looking for approving of the funding agreement or for you guys to authorize Lisa to sign the funding agreement since
We'll do
there's no signature for the board on here, just county auditor, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the DOT TISA agreement and the auditor to sign.
Maybe. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the DOT TSIP agreement as presented and signature as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye opposed, motion carried.
Next, last week we got some unfortunate news from our Lamont motor grader guy. He announced he will be resigning. He got a chance to purchase some excavating equipment himself and to start his own side business, and it was kind of this was his chance shot. And it's unfortunate because for the short 6 weeks he was here, he was doing really good, but wish him well, but his last day will be April 24th, so next Wednesday. Yes, next Wednesday. We have started an internal posting already, which that'll end this Thursday. So then nobody bids that, I guess we'll go post it to the public for that after that, but so yeah, I guess fortunately we're
Deal
dealing.
that it was so short time ago.
Mhm.
Can we use past applicants? Are they good for so long or?
So we talked to Becky about that, and if nobody bids, so if this is the position that goes to the public, we will have to post for it, but once we review all the applications after the window closes, if there's nothing that stands out, we can, and assuming our next in line candidate, when we hired Derek, would apply, we could reach out that way. But it just depends if this is the position that's open to the public or not, but yeah, it's only been 6 weeks.
No.
So unfortunate, but wish him well, I guess.
Move to approve his resignation, I guess. So we need, is that just information?
Yes, to accept his resignation, this
Move to
way can be taken on payroll.
Motion and second to accept the resignation for the greater position as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye opposed, motion carried.
Last is a utility permit for Lamont Telephone Company. There's a stretch on north of Lamont on 317th Street, which you guys are familiar with where the Inspiration Stables is getting built, or maybe is already now built out there. There was a fiber that was damaged. Due to that, so they just need to repair it, so it's just about 1,000 feet of utility repair, just plowing it in from handhole to handhole, so it's existing handles out there, so pretty straightforward, so
1,000 feet was damaged.
I don't think 1,000 feet was damaged, but they just pull a new conduit, I'm assuming from handhole to handhole, and
Yeah.
Versus twice.
so
It's the 317th Street.
317th Street, yep. So recommend approval of that permit.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the permit for Lamont Telephone Company for fiber repair as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Can give an update quick. 308th Street started on Monday. All the residents were informed. Nan and myself went to a meeting, it's probably been a week and a half ago, whatever, the Thursday night, met with all the interested property owners, and there was actually a good turnout that attended to that. Also had the transportation director from Bellevue Schools there, the garbage service, local services there. I've talked to the post office about it and they've already informed all the property owners. So there's been a lot of communication. So far everything's gone pretty smooth. Granted, it's only day 2, but everybody's aware of what's going on. And depending on what happens with weather this week, they're hoping to pave this week. I mean, they were originally intending tomorrow to start paving phase 1. But I think with the rain tonight and with, sounds like there's some chance of rain tomorrow, but so it may get pushed till Friday, but they're moving right along. It's a quick hitter project for them, so. Yeah, so everything's going smooth there. That's really the only construction project we got going right now. Soon, hopefully by the end of May, we are starting our Y61 overlay project from Cottonville to 62, but still tentative on that. We still have to have a pre-con with the contractor for that, but that was what they were thinking to start with.
Do you have any indication of when 62 from Andrew to Bellevue is gonna get over there?
I don't,
Do they
I
give
have
you a
not seen
heads
it.
up on that?
usually as far as paved returns, like.
It's
what we-
scheduled for this year though, correct?
I don't think so. I have not seen it on the letting and we have not been contacted, like when they did 62 from Macokota to Y60 or Andrew
Yeah.
there. They sent us plans like, they paved the side road returns.
Yeah,
We were in communication with them on that, once they have that ready, and that has not happened, and I have not seen it on their letting, so.
I was assuming, or I thought I read last year, well, that would be finished this year because I had some landowners inquire about the approaches.
Guess I can't speak for 100% certainty,
No,
but I
no.
have yet to see it on anything.
You should find out if anybody, I would get.
I'm not aware of it happening this year, so.
Okay,
Yeah. That's all I had, I guess.
okay, well, we appreciate it.
Thank you much.
Keep us updated. Thank you, Jaden.
Yep.
Are there any visitors or citizens available today that would like to approach the board? Darla, you just visiting or do you have something for us?
Just visiting.
All right. Good morning. All right, moving on. So next on our agenda is Julie Fern, our drug-free community project coordinator. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So been working with the sheriff, the co-responder Bree and the jail care person Taylor. Looking at if there's some places that would fit into the opioid settlement funds at the new jail. And the sheriff would like a medication drop box in the lobby. The sheriff, they don't currently have one because there's one in Macokota PD and it's the same building. The co-responders, when we were chatting, they're gonna be working with people as they're discharged, and they're gonna encourage people to get excess medications out of their house if someone has a substance use. It'd be nice to have a place for them to put them, maybe when they come get their person. So they want a box in the lobby. The plot, it's gonna be a little different. The model we have in the Macokota, Bellevue, Sabino, and Preston PDs doesn't exist anymore. I did send a picture of one that's very similar. You put our logo on there. They wouldn't show me a price till I put something in that box. It'll say Jackson County Sheriff's Office or Jackson County. I just had to put something in the box to get to the final price. The total price with shipping is $2,102.00, and it fits very neatly into, in those 4 strategies, G prevention programs, number 4, funding for community drug disposal.
Does it have to be rotated out or can it just be emptied or?
They empty it. It's got a big lock on it. It's bolted to the floor. It's got a plastic tub. They dump it and then we dispose of them.
I'm sorry, who's they?
The sheriff's office would do it.
Okay. Is this correct? And it's saying 28 gallon?
Yes.
Mercy. That's a big pot.
Same size as the ones we have.
Guess I wasn't aware of them.
Well, and that's misleading because I think that's the total volume of the box, but the tub in the bottom is
Sure.
maybe half of that.
Sure.
But that's the size of the entire,
Security.
And they gotta have an area that you can't reach on.
yeah, there's baffles. I mean, they're heavy. It's it's a lot. The shipping is a lot because the thing is heavy. It's 100 and some odd pounds. And it takes 8 to 10 weeks.
Where's it coming from?
This company is out of. It's American. Wisconsin.
No, I was just wondering because of the shipping costs, you know, if
It's
we
the
could
weight.
just go pick it up.
Oh, if you wanna drive to northern Wisconsin.
Mhm.
You know, yeah, we have to prove that we can unload it and all those good things because of the weight, but we can.
How much is it? How heavy is it?
It's 148 pounds.
148?
We
still
can,
have like 70-some thousand in the opioid funds or
There's enough money to cover it, I guess.
looking for?
One second there.
Have a motion and a second to approve the request for funding for the drop box as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye opposed. Motion carried.
thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Lisa,
I
are
am,
you prepared?
I am. So this morning I need a motion to approve the minutes of the April 9th, 2024 board proceedings as written by Auditor Smith and authorize publication in the official newspapers.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the April 9, 2024 board proceedings as written. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye opposed. Motion carried.
Need a motion to accept, place on file the Veterans Affairs Commission meeting minutes for the March 13th, 2024 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve and place on file the Veterans Affairs Commission meeting minutes for March 13th of 24. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye opposed. Motion carried.
As part of the budget process last year, this current fiscal year's budget, we budgeted $1.35 million to be transferred from the Fund 11 to the Fund 20,000. So today, I'm asking to approve resolution number 1026-04-16-2024 for an operating transfer from the Rural Services Fund 11,000 to the Secondary Roads Fund 20,000, which is half, $675,000 effective April 6th, 2024.
April 6th or April 16th.
April 16th, yes. Got the trifles in the wrong spot.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve resolution 1026-04-16-2024 for operating transfer as presented. Any further discussion? It is our normal transfer and we are in April, so we've done really well.
So, yes,
So
yes, this is a transfer process.
any further? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
That's all that I have for the board today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Luann. Moving right along.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, calendar for this week. Today at noon is the introduction to Jackson County Board's Boot Camp at Innovate 120, if any of you wanted to attend that. Also at 5 o'clock tonight, weather permitting, the Conservation Board will be meeting out at the Prairie Creek Recreation Area for any of you that want to attend that meeting. Tomorrow, April 17th at 6:30 is the Jackson County Hazard Mitigation Plan Update Meeting. That's third meeting for this, and that will be in Preston for any of you that want to go to that. Thursday, April 18th at 6 p.m. is Limestone Bluffs RC&D meeting by Zoom for Don. Monday, April 22nd at 4 p.m. is an Early Childhood Iowa Council meeting in DeWitt for NIN. And at 7 o'clock that night is a Jackson County Board of Adjustment meeting for any of you that want to attend that. Our next regular meeting will be Tuesday, April 23rd at 9 a.m. Mostly what I have on the agenda today is some appointments and reappointments. I'm looking for a motion to reappoint 2 members of the Board of Health to new 3-year terms that expire December 31st to 26th, and that would be Dr. Christian Becker and Doug Latham.
They're both willing to be reappointed.
Correct.
Move.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve Dr. Christian Becker and Doug Latham to the Board of Health. Years expire 12/31 of 26. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye opposed. Motion carried.
I am also looking for 2 members of the Historic Preservation Commission to be reappointed to 3-year terms that will expire also on 12/31 of 2026. And that's Marilyn Osterhaus and Laura Karstens.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve Marilyn Osterhaus and Laura Carstens to the Historic Preservation Commission. Expiring again 12/31 of 26. All those in favor, say aye. Aye opposed. Motion carried.
I'm also looking for an appointment to the Pioneer Cemetery Commission for 3 years, also to expire in 12/31/26, which seems to be the date of the day today. And that is for Richard Sherrard.
Second.
Motion and second to approve Richard Sherrard to the Pioneer Cemetery Commission, expiring 12/31 of 26. All those in favor, say aye. Aye opposed, same sign. Motion carried, and the board would like to thank all for their willing to serve and to represent and be a part of the business of the county.
Thank you.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Does anyone else have any reports, or anything to discuss to the board today? We have a public hearing set at 10 o'clock. And we have some others coming in work sessions, if you will, or updates, including Mr. John Hanson. Jack, Willie, and Lynn Bopes are coming from Jackson County Court of Disability Services. So we didn't have a lot of appointments this morning. Go ahead, Don, I'm sorry.
Board and commissions, if you want to do that, I had the
Sure.
Coconut River Water Management Authority meeting. The big news that we're starting our cover crop grant that we got, cover crop initiative, got that going, getting the groundwork laid, so we start working with farmers stuff with that. Aaron, our executive director for the Water Management Authority, was submitted to be the Cedar Rapids Gazette has a HER award where they take nominations for women doing big things. And they had 65 applications for 12 awards, and she was selected as one of them. So in June, they'll be recognizing her as one of their recipients. And the big news coming out of the WMA is the fact that the state Water Management Authority is trying to, their focus across the state was to keep pollutants out of the river, identify where they're coming from, and things to keep our waters cleaner. That is in direct, I guess, competition, so to speak, with some other departments in the state. There was a bill in front of the Iowa State House to remove that from them. And then the water management authorities could only talk about floodwater initiatives. And that died. It didn't proceed. So that actually came out yesterday or Friday. Yesterday it came out. She sent an email saying that it wasn't going to make the final thing. So we can continue a lot of what we're doing. We have 45 sample sites that we've been tracking for the last 5 years, looking for problem areas and different pollutants in the water. And we actually got enough money. We're maintaining those 45 sites, but we're also starting to do other ones to kind of figure out where these pollutants are coming from farther up in the watershed. So we're getting more specific and ways to try to limit that. So that was a good thing for what we've been doing. And main thing that Bill was going to do is just, you couldn't call yourself the Water Management Authority. They wanted a water management like partnership or something, and it was like, just, yeah.
Bureaucracy.
Yeah, so it was.
Well, good, them are good projects, you know, I mean, that's obviously we have runoff and we have, you know, we like to see some buffers or whatnot, but again, one of our concerns, and we should be, so.
Mhm.
Good news. Any other commissions or boards? I don't really have anything that I recall that's extra important.
Supposed to have the Mississippi Valley Workforce Development Board meeting today, but it was canceled due to a light schedule, so.
That's good news.
But other than that, everything's been going pretty good. We did meet I did meet with the Together We Build Advisory Board met last night, finishing up, setting up the subleases with the extension office. all of a sudden the regional director is coming up with a bunch of other things, so we've recommended that they kind of get everybody in one room instead of regional director says something to Amber, Amber says something to Will says something to us, and we try to fix it and send it back up the chain. How about we get everybody in the same room so we can have a working document instead of playing telephone? We're gonna do that with the fairgrounds, with the management agreement. As far as the fairgrounds office space, and having a separate sublease for the fairgrounds office, we're going to investigate, that space just be allocated in the management agreement, that is their designated office during the management agreement. And we're gonna look to see if that can work instead of doing a whole separate sublease, so as a possibility.
So I guess I question the fact that the regional director was not involved until now.
I have no idea.
Okay,
They just
this has been going on for a while, so.
come up with different things, and so everything is moving, and they have their first paid event Saturday. And so they would really like to get with you, figure out what keys they need, and
I need direction from,
together we build, we voted that Terry can come in. And the big question we have is, now that there's a new set of keys,
so we have those 30 master keys.
but
And then we have there's another 3 sets of keys, there's 10. My question is do you want us to hand out the keys to a group or to an individual? As an example, do I hand a key out, one to Terry and one to so-and-so for the board? I mean, if I'm okay asking, I would like to see, we'll keep a master key here at the courthouse. I'd like to give a key to Bob and a key to Jeff. That leaves 7 keys. So the question is do I give the keys individually or to the organization?
I would say you'd give it right to the director, correct? If they're in charge of the building, the fair board director.
Okay, so,
I guess if
there
you
was
give
talk
it to the board, they're gonna give it to the director anyway,
so
correct?
yeah, we won't know then who has keys. That's. if
Well, you
give-
will, she's gonna come in and,
That's,
yeah.
well, so then I'm gonna give 7 keys to Terry. So then those 7 keys, I don't know who goes.
There was talk, we know of the 30 masters. And now there was the impression I got from Will and others that John had given you another set of keys to open the doors, and like this key goes to the
That's
great hall.
There's 3 sets of keys,
Okay,
3 different
So-
keys.
to me, the fair board should get. The talk was 2 masters, extension gets 2 masters, and that's in case somebody responds, there's a fire alarm or whatever. It isn't, they gotta go down to the fair office to get in, there'll be like 2 designated people assigned that, and they have a recall, there's a recall list of 4 people. First person get called if something goes on down there is Joe, second person is somebody from extension, third person. And so those people have a key that they can respond in the event of an emergency or whatever.
They did that, they kind of picked them by, Extension has somebody that lives here in town. The fairgrounds has somebody that's here in town, so if like an alarm's going off,
So that's known at PD.
they will
Is
be
that what we're gonna
letting,
do?
I'm assuming they will be letting them know of
Okay.
their call order type of deal, so.
Yeah. And
So again,
then we gotta figure out. Terry was directed to get with you to figure out, okay, is there a set of keys that say this opens the great room, the side rooms, that section? And that way they can have. I don't
so
know.
whatever keys is given to the fair board director, if you will. If she gives a set to somebody, or if they do, they has to be recorded, who has a key.
They recorded or we recorded?
Well, they should come back to us with who
Okay.
has it.
So I'll put the responsibility
both
for them to
have-
report back to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah,
who
that's
has it.
correct.
What
We
numbers?
both know who has it.
Okay.
With that being said, I mean, you talked about fire and law. Would they normally receive access to that building also, like EMS and fire? I know they have access to the schools and whatnot, so that's, to me, that makes sense. I don't know.
There is a lockbox on the outside of the building to the, right of the door.
Yeah,
think is
that
what
will have a
got said.
master key the fire department or whoever has a lock, a key to get in that, if every building has them supposedly, so. That will they,
Just so we're covering our bases here, you know. So, is that a coded lockbox?
I think it,
If it's a Knox box,
Yeah.
it's just a key that we have in our truck and.
Okay.
Only for people who have it as fire department.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at here. I don't want somebody to be able to punch a code and.
one question that did come up is. We are covering the property insurance for the building. Amber's covering the content insurance for her side. Fair Board asked, because they are managing it. They're like, we own nothing in this building. So who's paying for the content insurance on the hall side? Because it's.
I guess it would probably be a good question for Jennifer to see if we've got that included in our, agreement or in our
I think
policy.
that was in our lease.
I would say there's X amount of coverage on contents, just like there is here.
I was thinking about after, it kind of caught me off guard when they said, the more I think about it is technically, don't we own all the tables and chairs? Doesn't the county actually own the tables and chairs in Pearson Hall? Or who actually,
At Pearson,
Pearson?
I would say the county does not.
the fairgrounds does.
The fairgrounds owns them. The county hasn't purchased them.
Okay.
I would say.
That was just a question Terry had, is who covers the content insurance? I thought, well, with the way we set up, when we pay for the property, the renters, subleasees pay for the contents of their part, but they're like, we don't own anything. So that is something we need to figure out.
So the county, you say that the county, as we know that we've paid for the walls and the roof and the structure. Wasn't there an agreement in our lease that said that Inc. was supposed to have some insurance also?
Mhm.
And has that been purchased?
That was just, that's all in the process and all that.
So
kind of
my
stuff.
question is because there's an event this weekend, do we have all of the insurance in place? Well, Inc. doesn't have any insurance. Somebody's gotta have some liability insurance before they should host an event on this weekend.
I would guess that, again, that's a good question for them and the insurance agent. Are they dealing with the same agent?
Yeah.
Well, that'd be a good question for the insurance agent. I'm sure we're covered with the amount of insurance that we have, and why would somebody get left out? But
I don't think we have liability. Well,
we have liability for sure, but I don't know about the contents that you talked about, but I don't think we have liability. That was our coverage to begin with, so. I would take it to Jennifer, or a call to Jennifer anyway. Make sure we're square.
So I got.
Anything else? Take a short recess at this time. Again, good morning, everyone, and we will reconvene at this time. It is 10 o'clock, so we do have a scheduled public hearing on the Together We Build lease. So I will open the public hearing to any comments, questions, concerns that are before us. Anybody have any comments? Please identify yourself and state your comments.
For the record, with the press release and all that stuff, I have received no comments. I was a listed contact for the press release. For this, I received no phone calls, emails, anything, so. There's that.
I have not received any regarding the lease. I haven't really received any on the whole building, you know, other than it's gonna be a fantastic building, but
I have not gotten in.
is there comments anyone from the public would like to speak? Yes, ma'am. Would you?
Judy Tondro, and was there last night and did a brief inspection. I hadn't been there for a couple of weeks and things look great. I
Well-
was just really pleased with the last minute details that had been accomplished. There was some details in the bathroom that got done. There was some in the kitchen. painted the second time and, it will be a joy to have the extension building open. And they can get into it. It'll be a great asset to the community.
It will be, and we would personally like to thank you and your cleaning crew right here are up for a medal of honor or.
Should we hire him for the jail?
I don't think. Is anybody looking for some part-time work?
If we can hire him for the jail.
No, seriously, we thank you for what, the time and the ability to do that and to.
Well, thank you. I'll pass
Donate
it
your
along
time.
to my.
Yeah, no, tell them, we greatly appreciate that. That's something that sometimes gets overlooked. You know, to the point that deep cleaning, after a building is complete, yeah, that looks good, but. We appreciate it. We heard that it was extensive for days.
It took us several days.
I was in there talking to John and I was like, well, he said you guys went in there. He said him and Jeremy were gonna go through and clean it, but you guys did a great job. And I'm like, I appreciate you guys doing that because I think it is a bit more thorough than what John and
John
Jeremy
and
were
Jeremy.
probably.
I would probably kick John and Jeremy out of the way.
Well, it was a necessity and we were able to do it at the time and we were
We
glad. to
appreciate
have
it very
done
much. No, it's gonna be a wonderful facility and an asset to the community, whole Jackson County, and we hope we get a lot of use out of that building. And people enjoy it. It's quite a facility anyway, so. Any other comments or concerns?
Just the insurance.
Yeah, so, we've been working diligently with the CERN change and I don't see an issue with any, but I don't have a problem, I mean, we have the building insured. I'm sure the fairgrounds, it's a matter of somebody who's renting that building needs to get a hold of, obviously has a responsibility. It's in the agreement when you sign it, has a responsibility to have insurance and coverage on it. So to me, it's no different than me calling my agent and say, hey, I just bought a new car. I need insurance before I drive it home. And you will get insurance and then you'll have to pay for it. So that's just the way it is.
The management agreement is where they're using as a template to establish between the Fair Board and Together We Build building is the same one the Fair Board uses with, like when I rented Pearson Hall for my daughter's wedding. We had to prove that we had $500,000 coverage. We got a certificate from our owner's insurance sent to them to prove there was coverage. So they're
So,
using that same template.
so when the Master Gardeners have an event in the building, does that go through ISU? Or does someone have to call about that?
Be a question, are you covered under ISU's insurance?
I don't know.
That would be,
We're covered under extension. Yeah, I'd be.
if you were covered under extension. then-
Is it an extension program? Yeah, I guess I can't answer that
I
question
mean, I'm
either.
not real sure of my ground there, but I think I'm right.
You have a comment in the back?
Well, I think that we would be covered, yes.
Okay, so again, I guess it's probably a question that the master gardeners need to call their insurance agent,
Yeah.
or ISU needs to call the insurance agent and say,
I mean, you guys
Email me
wanna make
something,
sure
yeah.
that you are covered under their liability insurance.
Okay, Judy.
Because, I mean, here's the issue, you don't want somebody to walk in there and break their hip.
No, but we certainly don't want something to be canceled either because of no insurance.
Right.
Because we didn't know.
Right.
Now you can check.
Did you have to sign a contract?
I did not.
no, honestly,
I don't know.
yeah, I don't know either. I don't know how the master gardeners are.
Cause maybe you should stop. You
My name, Mike?
I'm sorry.
is extension office still open downstairs?
Amber's not here.
Amber's
Oh.
not here, so.
Tom, technically in today's society, if you guys are holding events, whether it be at the Together We Build building or out doing things, or you guys have your designated spots, it would probably be something worthwhile checking into, because if you're sponsoring an event and somebody gets hurt, they're gonna come looking at you. And that's just the way it is, whether.
I'm just asking the question because we were not able to have an event in the building because of insurance. A month ago.
Right. And that was,
Okay, so
That
that's
was-
a different thing.
We
that
could,
was a kind of a different thing because that insurance at that time was only a builder's risk insurance.
Contractors.
Right.
the reason we're doing the public hearing is because before we could enter before we could enter into a lease, or
Okay.
before we could get the building insurance, Jennifer Mashandy with our insurance company said we need two things. We need the occupancy rating and we need a lease of the tenant. We need to have a lease signed with the tenant. In order to get the lease signed, we had to pass the lease, so then we could say, here's our stuff. Now we have property insurance. Now it's a covered building. It's no longer under the builder's risk insurance. It's actually covered. That was the purpose of us signing the lease to get it going. The public hearing we are doing now, according to state law, says you have to have a public hearing.
Okay.
We approved the lease to get the ball rolling. We are having a public hearing to explain why I motioned that we get it going. We got our ducks in a row, we've covered our bases, but the reason we approved the lease is so we could then get the building covered under property insurance. So that's why we did what we did.
Alright,
Now they're able to get, and because now there's a lease with Together We Build, they can then sublease it to the extension office and get that stuff going. The Fair Board, we can get their management agreement in place. And then everything's good to go. It's just, we're getting through the mud in the water, so to speak, but it's getting clearer every day.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have the master gardeners had events in this building in the basement and or
this
fairgrounds?
building, yes,
Okay, so would it be any different? We
Don't know.
own this building. You had events here.
I don't know.
ISU is here. Why would it be any different than their other building we have?
I don't know.
I don't either. I mean, I don't understand. If you did events in this building that we own and ISU is here sponsoring the event and they're in this building, I don't understand why it would be any different.
Yeah.
Or than the fairgrounds building. I mean, we're leasing to the fairgrounds, same,
Well, I think it was the March.
well, again, that had to do with the contractor building.
Exactly,
Yeah.
so that's what I wanted to know.
We cleared that hurdle.
Okay,
We cleared that hurdle.
thank you.
So.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, concerns from the gallery? Anybody online with us today?
Well,
Will?
Will Cornelius, just would like to say thank you to the supervisors for all your partnership on this building and getting this lease done in a timely manner so we can have events. So you guys are awesome to work with and John Keys too to get it done, so thank you. That's what I
Well, we
want to
appreciate all the work you guys have done and
Thank you.
and the patience that you've shown, in this whole ordeal. I mean, it wasn't easy for either side to work through it, so. Lessons learned on both sides and, hopefully we can move forward in a positive manner. Okay? Any other comments? Darla, you're the only one online. You wanna comment? You're not gonna comment.
No comment here.
All right, just checking.
there's no
Thank
other
you.
comments. If there's no other comments, I would make a motion to close public hearing.
Second that.
I have a motion, and a second, to close the public hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, next on our agenda would be discussion and possible action on Together We Build lease that has been,
I don't know why that's.
we
It's there, it's
already
already
approved
done.
that lease, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're good. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yep,
Thank you very much.
have a good day.
Kathy Ryder, I was just wondering if we could get a copy of the lease?
Is
that-
say so?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yes.
Do you want to stay for it?
Do I want what?
Do you want to stay for it?
Sure, okay. Or you can email it to me.
It's up to you. I mean, I can.
We can print it off.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think it would be helpful what I have to
They
do.
talk slow
Yep.
now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if there's nothing else to talk about until 10:40.
So.
John was
you'd
here.
be-
Huh?
Just gonna get together. with the insurance.
Yeah. I'll talk to him. Hey, well, I'll call you in a little bit. Okay.
Is John leave?
Yeah, he's done it. Left.
So, on our agenda would be Mr. John Hanson. He was here previously and didn't really have too many updates for us, so we excused him from on the agenda. And at this time, we have Jack Willie and Lynn Bopes yet to present. Any other business before the board? Otherwise, we will take a brief recess. Then we'll take a brief recess. All right, thank you all for being patient with us here today. We will reconvene at this time. And joining us is Jack Willie and Lynn Bopes, our Jackson County Coordinator of Disability Services. Good morning.
Good morning. We are here again for an update following the monthly mental health regions meeting that Nin was able to be present at virtually and Jack and I attended. Jack and I also attended the Children and Adult Advisory Committee beforehand, but much of the information is the same from both meetings. So I'll start, but you guys can add in wherever you want. I may have heard more details than I did, but David Farmer, the region's fiscal agent, reviewed the financial facts as of March 31st. And he typically gives us a projection on our fund balance at the end of the fiscal year. And I would say this is the closest I have ever heard it being to what the state projected we should be at. So just to remind all of us, the state in Iowa code indicates that each region should have no more than 5% of funds left in their fund balance to carry over into the next fiscal year. At our current expenditure rate and actual expenses, we're actually projected to be at 6.7. That's if we would expend all of our budgeted amount. If we only expend 80% of it, we still would be at about 8.4%, which is the closest we will have ever been to that target that the state has set out. So stay tuned on how all of that goes. So needless to say that David and Lori, the region CEO, are watching it closely just to make sure we don't run short on finances. Then there was discussion about the FY25 budget that was approved. And at this point, given our rate of expenses that we're experiencing this year, the budget amount for next year at 14.9 million could be kind of a tight fit as well, because our revenue will be a little bit over 12 million. It was budgeted on the premise that we historically have never spent, maybe one fiscal year since 2014, and we spent more than like 65%, 70% of our budgeted amount. So that's just something that the management team and the region's governing board will keep monitoring throughout.
So is there a dramatic change in the new budget? Or, I mean, we've been talking about this for several years, you know, we were at 30% and 25 and we were trying to get down to 10, thought they'd extend it and, you know, but now all of a sudden you tell me looks like we're gonna be at 7% or 6.5%. Has there been a dramatic change in the budget or just?
To a large extent, the projected services that we had budgeted for are probably as fully implemented as we have ever been in the last.
Because of
several years.
personnel?
Yeah,
Yeah.
staffing, getting staff on board,
Oh.
getting programs up and running.
So
Christine,
now we know actually what it's gonna cost to have these programs, and now we don't have enough.
yeah, and some of the expenses are also kind of more of a fixed expense, so we contract with a couple of providers to come in and do training. Christine has done that with Frank Grijalva. Now this is her second fiscal year of doing that. And two other individuals from out east were just here. One of them was here for 2 days of a conference last week. The other one couldn't make it. So we're also spending more on our programs that we are able to do because we've been contracting with some providers to do some technical assistance. Anything anybody else would like to add?
I guess I kind of see that in the past budgets, if you have not had the personnel and the staff to do that, obviously it wasn't spent. Now it is, so we actually can see where.
Yeah, so it's a good thing. I mean, we're getting to where we had planned to be. And having said that, I'll just go over a couple of pieces of information from the region's crisis system, and I'll save the best for last.
Amen.
So every month, the governing board gets a packet from Robert Young Center, who manages our over $10 million contract to provide the crisis services. And this is where services are available to Jackson County residents, all residents of the region. Some of the big ones that are 24/7, so there are a couple of them that are 24/7, so they're more costly. I just wanted to let you know, our usage in March was up for Jackson County. It often has been at a good level. There are some slower months, but through the hospital, there were 5 individuals who took advantage of telehealth psychological mental health evaluations. And we had 11 visits from the mobile crisis team that came into Jackson County to see people in person when they were experiencing a crisis. And then the other one we have that is not 24/7, but is here 4 days a week, is the co-responder that rides with law enforcement. And she had 24 events that she was involved in, people being in crisis, or that following up with individuals who had had contact with law enforcement, maybe at night or over the weekends.
You see the one that has the office space next to you?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, so those numbers are looking good. You know, some of these services are pretty expensive because it's an access, it has to be available 24 hours a day, so it's good to see this kind of usage.
I guess we don't wanna see the crisis, but we like to see that it's being used.
Correct.
That's
Absolutely.
Kind
Yeah.
of where we're at.
Yeah,
We certainly
that's
don't want
You don't wanna have
more,
the issue,
but
but if people are having the issue, you wanna have a resource for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
We do.
we do know that people are going to experience those concerns, so. So the best for last is just an update on the mental health reform, I guess is how they're referring to it out in Des Moines. It is now Senate File 2420, if anybody's interested in looking at it. It is with the Senate. The House passed their bill that they had, and it went to the Senate, and now it's my understanding that the Senate bill is the one to watch because the House has agreed that that's the one that they would follow. I don't know when they're going to take a vote on that. There are some areas
well, they ain't
that,
got much time left to vote, so they better
No.
take it within the next week.
right,
It will be.
it will be.
Yeah.
So just a few updates on what that current bill sets out. There's a lot of, most of it's very similar to what we talked about here before. One of the things that is still out there and is uncertain is, you might remember that I talked about, they're moving from the 13 mental health regions to 7 behavioral health districts. And they're bringing in substance abuse providers and also providers that are involved with gambling and tobacco monies. And that will be the focus of the behavioral health districts. So the tentative map that's been out there to date from the beginning has the 7 districts, and our mental health region, our 5 counties, has remained intact as one of those 7 districts. Now, apparently, there's conversation about looking at that map and considering whether or not there would be 3 or 5 districts. We will know that for sure by August 1st. Apparently, they're going to issue draft maps around July 1st and being out there for public comment, and then they'll take that public comment and announce their decision. So we won't really know anything probably until about August 1st.
But HHS wants either 5 or 3 regions and not the 7. So after the maps come out, there will be an opportunity for public input. And I just can't fathom.
Which it's funny because the public input that I've been hearing is that people don't like the 7, they think it's too small. That people are
Yes,
gonna have to travel
absolutely.
too far, and now they're wanting to make it a 5 or a 3.
Yeah,
So that's gonna even increase that. I mean, if you think if they go to a 3, they're just gonna divide the state in thirds.
Well, that's what they showed, and we would be all the way from the Minnesota border down to
Yeah.
it just seems unbelievable.
yeah,
And depending on if you need multiple services, one may be down in the southern border and one may be in the northern border.
Well, and that's the thing they talked about, is they wanted each region to have access to all the services. But even with the 7 regions, there's some that are huge. And as we've talked before, transportation sometimes is a really big problem. And if they live in southern Iowa and the service is available in Iowa City, they have to get to it. So there's just so many things that I just really can't understand what's going on.
That one kind of threw me for a loop when they said they talked about going smaller.
yeah, especially down to 3. I mean, then at that point, I'm not sure why they just don't do one state plan and one state agency oversee all of it. You can already, in theory, one of the things this does is it allows people to go anywhere they want for the service anyway. So. So that is out there for debate. There is, the advisory,
So in that scenario, what happens to the fund balance in, as far as?
It has to get turned over to the state.
And they
any money that
distribute it
we-
to the either the 5 or the 3.
Any money that the current region has at the end of the fiscal year would be sent to the state.
so by.
Yeah, but if they change the districts, so we're not supporting the same district, if you will. So, I mean, there's other funds from other places that should be included now or excluded, one or the other.
Well, so at the end of fiscal year 25, so prior to June 30th of 2025, the regions have to figure out what any unobligated funds they have remaining, and that does get turned over to the state to a general fund.
And then who figures out the budget from there?
State,
The ASO,
Well, these administrative service organizations.
I think
So,
contracts will be available and we're hoping by December.
August,
they'll be
July or
available.
August, the request for proposals should be issued by the state for anybody who's interested in applying to become designated at ASOs for either a behavioral health district and or what they call an aging and disability resource center, and that is the entity that will now be responsible for the aging services and also the services for people with disabilities. So currently, the mental health regions encompass what we would consider to be traditional mental health services, counseling, therapy, med management, that kind of thing, all these crisis services. And if there's funding that's needed for anybody who has an intellectual disability, a developmental disability, or a brain injury. When this comes into play July 1st of 2025, those populations with those disabilities will move into this Aging and Disability Resource Center. And that agency will also be responsible for aging. So basically, they're taking the lifespan for aging and disabilities. So the funding for the behavioral health district is going to be made available on a per capita basis at $42 per person. The money that we're gonna turn over, that any regions would turn over, will go into another fund, and exactly what that fund's going to be used for, I can't speak to that at this point, I'm not sure. But what I do know is that the funds that are available to the districts are gonna be based on $42 a person for the population of that specific district.
The statewide?
Yes, $42 per person across the state, which currently, I think we're at $40 a person. I think it goes up to
Right,
42
42.
July 1st of
Right.
this year for FY 25. So that funding level will remain constant during that first year of the districts, which is being referred to as a transition year. So from July 1st of 2025 to June 30th of 2026 will be a transition. Exactly that transition is gonna look like, I'm not sure. There are no details out on that. We might have more of an idea by July 1st. It's my understanding that HHS has to have an initial state plan for this whole transition out by July 1st of 2024. So that.
One of the things that we talked about too, with the ASO and with the changeover, is the governing board that we currently have won't exist. They will create a new governing board, and they have specifics that have to be on that. The elected officials, population served, one child or adolescent, individual, law enforcement. But the thing that really got to me yesterday, and I'm sure to Lynn and Angie too, is that the governing board that they create will have no power.
So these are advisory councils that will be in the Iowa code. The authority for the districts are gonna come from this administrative service organization under the direction of state Health and Human Services Department. So yeah, it's a 10-person advisory council, keeping in mind it's gonna represent however many counties are in this district. So it could be a district with 20+ counties. So only 3 elected officials or a designee. It reads to me that it allows for a designee, someone like Jack. Designee of that elected official. And then as Jack mentioned, 3 providers of services, one of which has to be a children's provider, and then 3 individuals receiving services or relatives of people receiving services. It was originally those 9 people, and then now with the most recent plan that's out there, they added 1 law enforcement representative from across the state or from across the district. So, but it is advisory only. So the discussion is out there of who will apply to become these ASOs, as they're referred to, and it can be a variety of nonprofit agencies. It could be a former mental health region who would have to do some, reorganization. And I think Lori is looking at that as whether or not that's a viable option. Of course, it's much easier to look at if we think we're just the 5 counties that we're familiar with and it's a small area. And if we get more counties added to that, that may change even the thought process on becoming, considering applying for that.
And one of the other things is administrative is only going to be allowed 7%. And Lori said yesterday at our meeting, if we were just getting 7% at the present time with the administrative costs that we have in our region, it wouldn't cover that. It would not be able to pay for the administrative costs.
I think our current administrative cost in this year's budget is about 15 to 17%. So.
And they talked about, they're supposed to have the initial transition plan released by July 1st. And July of 25 to July of 26 is going to be what they consider a transition year. It just blows my mind.
And this designated organization being referred to as an ASO or an administrative services organization, the ADRCs will also have that same level of oversight as well. So that's the model that applies to both the behavioral health districts and the ADRCs, the Aging and Disability Resource Centers.
The ADRCs will be the access point to services.
Just as the districts will be for the mental health and substance use and tobacco and gambling funds. Because one of the things the ASOs have to be able to do is to manage all the different funding sources that come to either the mental health arena or the substance use arena or gambling prevention and intervention or tobacco. So any of those federal dollars that come in, that ASO is going to be responsible for the oversight of those dollars getting distributed out amongst that district to the relevant providers.
And as Lynn mentioned about the aged population, that we're familiar with the AAAs, and that's what it is.
So I don't know, anything else in that you can think of that we missed or any questions you
I
guys
haven't
have?
heard them talk any about how often your advisory council will be able to even meet. Now, like I know judicial wise, when they did this, they took that to, they can only meet quarterly.
I think I did hear that, but maybe not in the board meeting, but don't quote me on that. And I haven't looked through the bill closely enough. I haven't combed through it to find out if they did define that.
It's just, I've been
Mhm.
kind of trying to listen for that too, on what,
Yeah.
how they're changing all that.
Yeah, because oftentimes, as you know, they put those kinds of expectations into bills like this. As far as, and exactly how. I guess it's up to the ASO to define how they identify the 3 elected officials and the 3 family members or people receiving services or the 3 providers.
And I know them people are sometimes hard to find,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
What's even harder to find is the fact that it's advisory only, so knowing all the work and everything you put into it, it'd be like, no, okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then,
We're gonna go a different way.
absolutely. I mean, realistically, you meet quarterly,
Yeah,
you advise.
this is what we're doing. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know the experience of Susie Rohusky from Imagine the Possibilities and Holly Palmer as a representative of a family member who received services. They represent Jackson County on our advisory committee, so they were both there yesterday. And they both feel it's beneficial, but more so just for themselves. Well, for Susie on behalf of an agency, and a large agency, because they're across the entire state now pretty much. But even as a family member, it's a good opportunity for them to just learn and keep abreast on what's kind of going on, but not everybody feels that that's a significant enough reason to devote time to travel to meetings out of town and things like that. When you know, you have no voice in anything. I mean. So,
that's when it's gonna be hard, is when it is at this. Totally up to them, basically.
right. Mhm.
Yeah, I
You
just,
know, like Don says, you know, everybody's worked hard to get to the point we're at.
Mhm. Right.
and at the point we're at, see, I mean, to me, it's working.
Right, it's
It's been
beneficial.
providing
it's
and
working for our
taking care of
counties.
the individuals that, the population that needs the service. I'm really confused as to why, they think that everything has to change.
There's one more thing I'm just gonna bring up, not to confuse people further. But I just want you
Oh, go ahead.
to be aware of,
You're not retiring?
oh, no, that wasn't it.
I thought I tried.
From the federal level on down to the state has an incentive to draw more federal dollars for mental health services. And the mechanism to do that is to have certified community behavioral health centers, or CCBHCs. And currently, Robert Young Center, they provide services in Iowa down in Muscatine County. So they are a Medicaid provider in the state of Iowa. They have applied and they have been selected by the state to be the CCBHC. And the 5 counties of the mental health region are the 5 counties that they're identified to serve. The state of Iowa has submitted an application to the federal government to be one of 10 states to be selected for a grant from the SAMHSA, I think it is, Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration, to pull down federal dollars for serving individuals with the Medicaid population. If Iowa gets selected as one of 10 states out of the 25 that are applying, then some of the services that we provide in our crisis system will be able to be, that cost of those will be able to be transferred to the CCBHC, because there are 9 services that these CCBHCs have to offer. I mention that only because you might start hearing some of that acronym. To me, it's very similar to what we have been accustomed to here through our community mental health centers. Hillcrest is still here, they're providing services here. But this is just a new version of what mental health centers, how they were created back in the 60s, and now we're served by them.
And in my notes, it says mobile crisis, we have budgeted $669,000 for that.
Yes, and then also, so that's one of the 2 services that come to mind that CCBHCs have got to make sure is available, so they can bill Medicaid for that, so they could take over the cost of that service. The other big one is over $1 million in our region's crisis contract with Robert Young, and that's for the varying degrees of care coordinators that we have, because care coordination is one of the 9 services that CCBHCs need to offer. So that might not touch your world very much in terms of conversation, but you also might hear it being suggested that these behavioral health districts are gonna have to work closely with the CCBHCs to make sure we capitalize on bringing in as many federal dollars as we can.
A couple other things that Kristen Gratter talked about is that last week they were here at the Macokota Middle School for Gray Lives Matter.
Oh,
And she did a program up there. And then Lori said that the Ursh home in Cedar Rapids will be opening soon. And that there will be a second one, and it will either be in Clinton or Jackson County.
yeah, that'll probably be a year out or
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
IRSH stands for Intensive Residential Services Homes, and again, it's one of those services that the state has required mental health regions to provide. And initially, when it came out, it was intended to serve a population of people that had generally, their illness is so severe that they really burned a lot of bridges. And there were no places for them to live and also get some supervision and treatment. So it was primarily initially designed for individuals with significant mental health issues. With the closing of Glenwood Resource Center, it kind of morphed into a little bit more of, it's also available to individuals with some other forms of disabilities. But it serves a very difficult population, and so it was difficult to find a provider who was even willing to consider. We tried in our region and we got no results. So we have a memorandum of understanding with the East Central region, which includes Lynn, Johnson, Dubuque, and then 6 other smaller counties. So we have an MOU with them to be able to access this program. Now, these houses can only have 4 people, I believe. It might be 5, but 4 people in them, so it's not a large opportunity, especially when that region has a significantly higher population than we do.
Just finding the individuals to man
To
the
work.
Ursh home
Mhm.
and take care of these individuals is gonna be a job.
Mhm.
I know at one point I had referred somebody to you that had a mental health crisis with a dog. She found a place in Houston.
After several months,
Yes. It's
and
kind of a sad thing to.
very sad. That was one of 2 scenarios that
Yeah.
between Clinton and Jackson County, we were very familiar with last summer. And, that's kind of the frustration that we all have is if there's a reason, if other states have providers that can provide that, why can't Iowa? Have this trained staff, invest the money in the staff and then payment for staff, because those are very difficult homes or facilities to work in. But you're right. I don't know what the number is right now, the people placed out of state, but it's much higher than we would want it to be. Now we know that at least, there's more than, Clinton County has several people, I think, placed out of state. So it's not an uncommon occurrence. That's right.
Disappointing.
Very disappointing, yeah, because those are very expensive services. And those other states can afford to charge a very high cost because they know we have no other options.
Right.
So if we took all of that
Supply and
money,
demand thing.
yes, and if we took all of that money that we spend, which to me is more than what we would actually need to spend once we got the service up and running, and invested it in training and startup cost, and then had the service going, give 10 years or whatever a business plan might look like, we would be gaining financially. So that's all I have. Do you guys have anything else?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Come on,
Stay
stay
tuned.
tuned. I
Amen.
know it's coming.
So far, the only thing you've said that's constant is it's still changing.
Amen.
That's what I
Thank you.
That's what I told Jacqueline last night, and I'm like, sounds like about what we heard last month.
Yeah, it really does. It's just that
Yeah.
we're getting
Until
closer,
until they get the final rollout.
which now I think is gonna be pretty close to what we've talked about. And when the ink is dry, we'll see how much we really know then.
And I said to Lynn yesterday, and I think I talked to her about it the day before, is last week was our HHS council meeting. And none of this is discussed at our council meeting. They just talk a little bit about the transition, but when Lori went over all the stuff that she got from her meetings, I said to Lynn, I don't know why we're not hearing that at our council meetings.
Just what it sounds like here. It sounds like they just says you guys are driving.
Well, it's not the council,
See, again, this is an advisory,
yeah.
right? I mean, it's one of
So-
those advisory councils that I'm sure is legislated Iowa to have. And what, yeah.
Amazing.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you later.
See ya.
Interesting. Okay, is there any other business before the board this morning?
See you later. Bye.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried, meeting adjourned. Thank you.